Tommy, when it comes to sanding, we know you are meticulous, you are fastidious, but the odd thing is, you actually like it.
I do like it. Think about it. Sanding can make or break a project. You can do a really good project and it'd be really sweet, but if you did a lousy job on the finish, what's the first thing people are going to see?
Lousy finish.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about a lousy finish and some of the problems we see with sanding. Here's one of them.
So here's a lousy job right here. You see all the little marks that are done right there? I mean, that's just somebody that was being lazy. They probably skipped grades. That's a coarse sandpaper right there, and they tried to finish it up.
And the lines are coming from the grit. And there are a lot of different grits that you can get out there.
There sure are. Here's some blocks that you get at the home center. This is 36, this is 120, and this is 220.
Lower the number, the grittier it is.
That's right. The more material this one will remove, but this will give me a better finish.
Right.
Here, for example, here's some in a row.
I'm going to flip these over just to remind me of the order. So here we've got 60, 80, 120, 180, 220, 320, and that's a pretty typical progression.
That's pretty typical. We could go way down to 24,
right,
or we can go all the way up to 4,000 or 5,000.
Right, so the low again is gritty and higher. So what do you think about this? I know what you think about this, but I hate sanding, so I'm going to go from 60 and then I'm going to jump right up to 220 because I'm going to save time.
No, you're not going to save time.
What?
You just created more work for yourself.
A hard concept for people to understand. Explain that.
Well, let's think it. This coarse grit is going to remove a lot of material fast. This finer grit is not going to remove the material fast enough for you to get down to the grit lines that this one left.
So faster to go through the increments.
It actually takes you less time when you graduate up.
Okay. I know you also really care about cleanliness, about picking up the dust, and not just because we don't want to breathe it in, and we don't, but you don't like any of that being left behind between grits.
Between grits. So I love a sander with a vacuum system, okay?
Or a little bag.
Or a battery with a vacuum. This is a battery operated one. But most sanders have the little bag attachments, and you should have them connected. I've seen painters have it when they're blowing the dust in the air.
Why do you care about the grit left behind?
Because I don't want this grit from the coarse left behind when I'm doing something fine, because the fine will make that mark.
So that a piece of 60 left behind, if you've got 120 on the paper, it's really just pushing that little piece of 60 grit around.
It's stuck on that 60 paper.
That's a good tip. Let's talk about the different kinds of sanders out there.
Belt sanders.
Belt sander. Aggressive.
Very aggressive.
Hard to use, too.
I don't use much belt sander much anymore, but you know, when you want to remove a lot, you go diagonal with that. But then you got to go straight like this to remove those marks. And again, you got to start with a coarser paper and work your way up.
Easy to leave marks and gouges
You got to be careful that you
that.
don't tilt it, because it will actually put a gouge in there.
So these are both palm sanders, even though I call this palm and random orbit, but this is technically a finish sander in the palm.
Finishing sander.
I see painters use that a lot.
Painters use them a lot for, you know, because they're working around trim and all that.
Right.
And they're trying to sand something. But it kills me when I see these guys take these sanders and now they're going to try to sand something. They're going like this, you know, they're thinking they're speeding it all up. And they're really not doing anything except causing the sander to create marks.
So moving it around, let the machine do the work.
Let the machine do the work. Turn it on and slowly move it back and forth.
Right, there's enough vibration coming out of the pad. In terms of doing the work, this one does the work in a random orbit pattern. And I think this is probably the most forgiving, at least the one that most people reach for.
Well, I think this is one. You can go across the grain and you can go with the grain and diagonal. Again, you want to move it slowly and you don't want to push down too hard.
Right.
Big mistake that people make.
So random orbit, that's what this guy is. It happens to be attached to a vac, and it's more aggressive because it's got a couple settings.
Well, this has a setting that I can be random orbit, but it also has a setting where it's really strong and it will almost grind, but it'll also polish.
And also, I mean, while this isn't random orbit, this is the age of the battery, where the batteries are powerful enough to get it into a sander.
Battery, and I can hook this up to the vacuum if I want to, and I can also plug that model in.
All right. Well, I appreciate the information. I still don't understand why you like it, but I'm glad you do. Thanks for watching. This Old House has got a video for just about every home improvement project, so be sure to check out the others. And if you like what you see, click on the subscribe button to make sure that you get our newest videos right in your feed.